All right, the meeting of the Park Board of the City of Connorsville is now in session. Vane, you're up for Pledge of Allegiance again. I think that's 3 months in a row, isn't it?
So, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please do the roll, please.
Harold Gordon,
Here.
Ann Kirshner,
Here.
Carrie Piper,
Here.
Amy Hammonds,
Here.
Scott Kiefaber,
Here.
Vane Lashua.
Here.
Everybody have a chance to read over the minutes from last month's meeting?
Yes.
Any additions or corrections?
Well, one correction.
Okay.
It's the et cetera is ECT in here, and it should be ETC.
Noted.
We're real careful here, you know.
Glad you read it, Vane.
I will correct it.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Okay, I need a motion to accept.
I move we pass the minutes as presented.
And I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we're good on the minutes. All right, let's move on to a little bit of new business. We need to talk about resolution 2022-11 through 2022-16. It's moving different monies to negative sections, is that correct? Okay, we got repair buildings to park refunds, fringe benefits to camp counselors, pool employees to camp counselors, park concessions soccer to park concessions pool, park pool chemicals to sanitation, and park electricity to park insurance. Okay. I just need a motion on those, unless anybody has any questions on those.
This is robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Correct.
Okay. I move that we accept these.
I'll second.
Okay, got a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay. All right, resolution's passed. All righty. More of new business tonight. Connorsville Utilities Project. I believe we have a guest speaker on that one. It's nice to have somebody, a new face in the crowd.
Front and center, please.
Front and center so you get it on TV.
Hello. I wanted to come give you a report on some things that are going on in and under your park at Smalley's, or what's the official name of it?
John Connor.
John Connor.
John Connor.
So I'll start at the beginning, try not to be too lengthy. We are required under our long-term control plan to do a project. Harold Price signed some of the papers on this project. We are building a $21 million headworks / storage facility at our wastewater plant, just on the other side of the fence from you. We became aware over the last couple of months that to build the project, the water table's up here about 15 foot, as Dave knows, and we need to dewater down to about 40 feet. So that 25 feet of water requires us to drill 10 dewatering wells that'll pump about 1,500 gallons a minute apiece. So it started out as we were thinking that we would probably pump the pond down some, and I started talking to Catherine about, let's talk to the DNR about making sure they don't put any more fish in this year, and maybe we can round up some of the ones that are in it. Then we got into checking out some of the past history of that site where there was I don't know how many of you are even aware of it, but 20 or 30 years ago they cleaned up a chemical dump that was over there. Harold remembers that real well. I think you were on some committees.
22 acres of it.
Yeah. So they sort of cleaned it up, but they mostly just capped it. So a lot of that stuff's still in the ground. So we have sort of been a little bit worried that we would. First we were worried that we might pump those chemicals to the river when we do water. Then we were worried that we I think now we're more afraid about destabilizing whatever's there and maybe pulling it closer to us or. So, what we are doing right now is there are 10 or 11 wells, sampling wells on the park site. We're sampling those tomorrow to see what the results of those look like. There's not extensive information about what was done over there. We've been looking everywhere, but just, 30 years ago, they didn't keep records like they do now. So we found some results that showed, there's trichlor over there, there's paint, lead, different stuff. So we're being diligent. We don't really think if we just pump it, it'll be diluted enough to where it won't hurt the river. But we are worried about moving the mass of whatever might remain over there. So I just kind of wanted to come and
Do we
give
know?
you-
Do we know how deep Smalley's actually is?
Not really, I know. We
Do
kind
we
of
have-
guessed like 20.
20. Okay, and they probably filled that with clay before they let that fill up.
Not really.
No,
They didn't do too much to it. But they
probably
did
don't
deem
know
it
for
safe.
sure. They did deem it safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been finding some newspaper articles where they said it was safe to fish.
Who, the DNR?
Mhm.
So
And
it was
IDEM.
safe? Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, IDEM would be, I mean,
Yeah.
they would have to have records of what,
There are,
all
but
of their
they're just not very
reports
good.
and,
A lot of them are scanned in a manner that they're unreadable. I mean, they exist, but you can't read them.
So then there were phase 1 and I'm sure phase 2 studies done at that point in time because
Well, yeah, but things were, the standards that we live under today and the standards then were
Right.
much different.
Very different.
All right, let me ask you this: what are some options then if we do move that mass and cause a problem? What's
Well, first, we're weighing the options of not dewatering at all,
okay?
which would take care of the problem.
But don't you need
that's-
that for your project?
That's about, we can do the project without dewatering, but it's $4 million. So you extra on
Okay.
21 million. So we have to weigh the dangers, the risk, and the money,
Okay,
and that's what we're doing right now. So I kind of wanted to make sure that you were in the loop.
I appreciate that.
We're not going to do anything there you'll ever see,
Right.
but, it's sort of like fracking, You can suck the life out of somebody's property from underneath. So just in case you were starting to hear about it, I've been talking about it a good bit. I wanted everybody to know what was going on and
Sure.
give you a chance to answer questions if you have any, and
So what are you looking for in the sampling? Like of
just to
each
see
well?
what the results are compared to the last results that we got 20 years ago.
Okay.
Oh,
Everybody that IDEM got, they sampled it for 5 years. And everybody, all the aquifer people, we have a lot of experts talking about this right now. The main guy that knows the most about the aquifer is Tim Northam. I'm sure Dave remembers him. He works for Peerless, but he's a real groundwater expert. He says that aquifer travels across the ground towards the river. So he says it's likely that all of that has been running into the river little by little all these years.
Okay.
We kind of knew that, but they didn't think it would be dangerous. And the sampling there wasn't. And we're relatively sure, that doesn't sound all that good, but
Well, see, it's funny that they don't know, there's not better records because you're not allowed, on that 22 acres, you're not allowed to drive any post, anything, because there's a 2-foot cap of clay on top of it. What they done was they took the 22 acres, they dug all the way down, they put a 2-foot cap at the bottom, brought it up and took it over the top. And you're not allowed to drive any post. You're supposed to try and keep anything from growing in there as good as you can, because you don't want anything going through that clay cap.
How do we get a shelter in there?
no, the clay area is all the way up at the north.
Oh.
I wasn't aware of where that was until recently exactly. It runs along the north up by the junkyard.
Oh,
And then
okay.
sort of comes
So
around
that's
on the river.
other side.
Okay.
So the area of the clay cap is minimal compared to the whole place.
Yeah.
So, but there's no protective covenant on the rest.
There isn't.
The part they just tell you don't screw up the cap.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's This is just a mess. You know, if we had an extra $4 million, we would just go ahead and do
Right.
it, but we're gonna have to borrow that, and the bond's already been let, and it's just a big thing, so.
And there was no way to predict that this was gonna be an issue until we started digging into it.
Until the dewatering plan became presented to us just a few months ago, and we saw how extensive it was, like 5 million gallons a day that they're taking out of the ground. Then we were like, oh
Yeah.
boy.
Okay.
So that's when we started looking at, I said, you better look into this site and start to research it, and so.
Do they feel it's gonna lower the levels of the lake? Molly's Pond?
Different conflicting opinions about it.
Nobody has a concise answer
Everybody
for
just
that.
says, well, we'll see.
Okay.
I think that's our least worry. I
Mhm.
think our main worry is that we'll
What-
move the
what we're gonna pull.
chemicals or do something that might trigger a cleanup
Right.
under today's standards and not 1990 standards.
What are our options if that does happen? We'd just have to shut it down.
What, if they drain the pond?
If they start
Contamination.
contamination issues
Oh,
and
yeah,
start
that
pulling,
would, they
We'd
would
have
tell
to-
us what to do.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah,
would
they'd have
tell
to
us, yeah.
we'd have to shut it down, wouldn't we?
And Items are very happy to tell you what to do.
Oh, I figured it was.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they'll,
Okay.
But, I
yeah.
mean, they're contractors, they have all the, DNR and IDEM requirements that they have to follow. So
Right.
that's kind of on the utilities.
Right.
We have all
I
the
mean-
permitting. We could go ahead and
Yeah.
do it. The only permit we don't have is to dig in the floodway. There's a DNR permit we have to get, but that's all. All the permits we need to dewater are already, we have them. We could be doing it right now.
All right. So basically you said you've got some testing going on. Can you bring those tests back to the next meeting so we know where you stand? So where we stand at that point in time?
I signed over the weekend a stop work order that is good till September 9th. When's your next meeting?
September 26th.
See, I mean,
You're already behind.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's really nothing for us to
No.
decide or vote on.
No.
It's just, I wanted you guys to be aware.
Well, people need to know before things start getting out of hand and what they're talking about.
This is the most I've said anywhere, so here we go.
All right, I said it's gonna go from here. You know what's gonna happen now,
And
right?
get a
you
lot of
and
viewers.
Dave,
Yes.
you two have been talking.
We
A
haven't
lot?
about this, but we know each other.
Yeah, you will be talking, right?
So I've done enough with IDEM to know about cleanup and things. So at what responsibility level would the park and our budget have if there were something?
I think the utility, well, this project is technically a city project. So, I think it would be on us to do
Like
anything that would have to be
blanketed,
cleaned up.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
gonna say, we had no recourse. We have none. I mean, our budget is set. So if it came to any kind of cleanup, that's gonna fall back on.
Or any type of temporary closure of the park or anything like that. I just want you guys to kind of start being aware of the project.
Isn't there a clause if that comes to that? Isn't there something in that contract when they initially cleaned it up? Wouldn't it fall back on those folks?
What we did I was on the city council then, what we did was, because it was a Superfund site.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody had to, they could go after Ford, all the companies, they could go after every homeowner. So what they did was the city assumed the responsibility of all the homeowners. So that way I wouldn't have been brought up, he wouldn't have been brought up, because the city was going to take on their cost. And that's what we did as a city.
In 2011 or 12, the city asked to have all the money in that fund given to them and the fund done away with. So I think there was $800,000 that was put back to do anything in the future. Well, the city wanted the money, so at some point the city said, give us the money and we'll take over responsibility if anything happens in the future.
Okay.
So it's on the city.
Kind of answers it right there.
But, it's going to be on us if we mess it up. So we're trying to make sure that we don't do that.
Okay. All right,
Well,
well,
that was how much?
How much was in the fund? 800 and something thousand. A big part of that went to buy River's Edge. That was where the money came from that purchased River's Edge.
okay.
And I think the rest of it they spent on the park fixing it up a little bit and doing some stuff down there. Maybe the clay cap got paid for out of some of that.
Well, I forgot how much money we spent on that total. I think it was around 12 million.
So we'll keep you informed, and
Okay.
if there's big
Sounds like your
developments.
number one priority is keeping those chemicals stable and not going anywhere. So, I mean, we know that you're gonna do whatever you have to do
We
to
are, yeah.
keep
That's
that
what
from,
They always say you don't
devastating.
want to be remembered for your worst mistake, and I don't want to be remembered for this. So we're thinking long and hard and consulting numerous experts and geologists, scientists, and so if there's anything that happens between now and your next meeting, I'll email you and try to keep you informed and the
Just
like.
let us know.
Is there any consistent testing of the river itself as far as what content might be?
I'm not really sure, I don't know if the DNR tests it or not. We don't. I was surprised to find out last week that we used to do river samples, but we aren't required by IDEM to do those anymore.
It would seem like the way the flow and everything would show, if it were, if it were contaminating the river, it would be, you could, someplace down the line it would show.
Yeah. They think that any chemicals would be diluted enough where it shouldn't hurt the river. It's more what we do with that big mass of, I wouldn't really call it a plume, but just it's probably more of a solid at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Okay.
any other questions or whatever in between your next meeting or whatever, just give me a holler.
Well, we appreciate you stepping up and coming in and letting us know about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Interesting. No Dennis again today?
You got me.
Wait a minute, I think his daughter's got a game.
Yeah. Okay, so, well, then I guess you're gonna bring us the sports report then?
Yeah, we had 317 kids sign up for fall soccer. I thought we had like 500 again. It seemed like we had 500 on Friday alone. And then we do have 16U machine pitch, but the 12U did not get enough girls to sign up, so
Really?
they are receiving refunds.
Okay.
how many did you have with the 16U?
I didn't write it down. Do you remember? I don't remember. I
Enough
think
for,
It wasn't that many, but it was enough to at least hold the
I think he
season.
tries to get 4 teams, so at least 50 girls probably
Okay.
signed up. That's all I have for sports.
Okay. Well, then you get to move on to our superintendent's report.
So one thing I did accomplish last week, so we have our goals list for this year. I've started working on that, so I've been able to take it and pull out what I definitely want to finish yet this year. And then moving things on to next year and even some things on into 2024. So part of that, so you know what we're going to be working on the next several months. We do have the Jacko Jaunt coming up on October 11th and 13th, the 13th being the rain date. And our Christmas party is going to be on December the 8th. So please go home and circle those days. We always need help. I need you guys to come help do things with those. The Longwood Bridge, they are going to start putting the safety fencing up on September the 6th. So the contractor came out earlier last week and we went over the list of things that he needs us to do to get ready for that. So we're just getting prepared. That's still on track to be done before Christmas. The shed next to the Miller building should be done by the end of next week. So we're going to be moving lots of things into that storage barn. The smaller barn on the west side of it is going to be taken down. And then ultimately, part of our goals list, one of our goals was to tear down the old park house where the shop is now. I have talked with Historic Preservation a little bit, but it's been a while. They didn't have any concerns about that when I brought it up, but I will go back and I think there's a form we have to fill out and make sure that everybody agrees to it. But the only thing that building is used for is storage and our Wi-Fi. So we just need to move some things around, but we really need another shed to store vehicles in, and that would be a perfect place for it. So that is still on the agenda, at least to possibly get that house taken down. Just trying to clean some things up and get our things put away. The auction cleaned up a lot of the mess, a lot of the vehicles that have been sitting around the park for years, so that's great. Another big project is we have ordered, well, Kate has worked very hard to get 35 more memorial trees ordered. She is updating the Google spreadsheet that the ag class made for us, so we know where these trees are going. We're also replacing trees that have been damaged or died or whatever's happened. So those have started coming in mass deliveries. We couldn't even hardly get in the door today because there were so many trees in the lobby. So those are going to be getting in the ground pretty soon. We did make it through fair fine. There was a bench that was damaged, but the fair has offered to reimburse us for a new bench. Everyone managed to find their way through the barricades to park, and nobody got lost. And our next area that we are going to continue that project. Our goal is to do this with every grass area.
It looks really, really good.
It does.
I think it's
we
nice.
had to take 4 out so the bridge people can get in. So Pete was really mad, but
Yeah, but it was.
yeah, we're going to put them back. So
Okay.
the next area we're going to do is over by the pool. So when you come in off of 28th Street and you head toward the pool, we're going to do the barricades along that so the parking lot looks nice. We're going to put some more stone out in those parking lots,
Good.
take those really old trees out, take those railroad ties out. That's our next area to clean up. So we're trying to do it. It is pretty expensive, so we're trying to do it a little bit at a time, but hopefully people don't grumble too much about it. But in the end, it protects everything we try to clean up. So another upgrade is we have received a grant from Duke for $3,500 to purchase a accessible lift chair for the pool. And I finished an application to the Community Foundation last week to cover the remaining $1,500. It's a $5,000 chair. The one that we have does not work. We've tried to replace the battery. We've tried to have a technician look at it, and it never gets anywhere. The battery didn't do anything, so we're just going to buy a new one. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then when we get the pool closed on Labor Day, they will be back out to work on the liner again. Everything at 2nd Street is moving along. You want me to go ahead and talk about that survey?
Yeah, I would.
So, Alex Hudson has finished the drainage, and his next step is he's going to start working on the berm where the hillside slide will go. So he's going to be moving all that dirt that's on the south side over. We needed a surveyor to come and mark where all the sidewalks are going to go, where the shelter will be, where this park sign will go. So that was an expense we have the money for in the budget, but we just needed to contract with somebody, and we needed to do it immediately to keep Alex moving. So I had permission from the clerk to just bring that here, to have you guys approve it, so it was in our minutes, so I do need a motion for that one.
This is the $7,000.
Yes.
We have a motion to go ahead and take care of this.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
second.
second that.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the bid for the survey, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion's good on that, so keep things moving there.
Another one of the goals on the list for this year was to, well, for one, get all the signs done. So those are all ordered. So our new signs will be here. We'll start installing those as we get time. The other thing that's been on the list for a while is updating the kiosks that are at the trail and at the soccer complex. So I'm working on that now. I'll probably work with the same gal at Paper Moon to get some nice inserts with, like, well, it's soccer, it'll have like our sponsors on it. Like, I'd like to do a map of like, this is where the fields are for which ages.
That would be very helpful.
Maybe a big highlighted thing of this is where you should park. I don't know. So we'll keep working on that. But those are underway. And I do plan on starting my, it's the Certified Park and Recreational Professional Certificate we've talked about. I think I'm going to plan on coming in and starting that on Labor Day. It's modules, so I'm thinking that might be a nice quiet day to come in and get started. And then along with that, another one of the goals on the list, a professional goal, had been to go to the IPRA conference in November. And I don't think that's a good idea this year. I think I should wait until I get the certification and then go next year, because then I'll be earning credits. If I go this year, it's nice information, but I'm not earning any credits toward anything. So I think we should just save the money and do that next year. So that's really it. The only other thing I had was, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, I was so proud of my change jar, my change for change. I thought it was a really cute idea. It's just, every idea starts somewhere. So I wanted people to write, what change would you like to see in the Parks Department? What would you like us to do? And then, whatever changes in your pocket. We have a great big jar. It was under Kate's desk. And I'm like, what are we going to do with this stupid jar? So anyway, that's where the idea came from. So now it's on top of the desk. And we did get our first $2 donation. So that was pretty exciting. But yeah, so we have our change for change going on. And hopefully it'll catch on a little bit. But if not, they're a big deal.
Okay, very good. All right, well, that gives it all new business taken care of. Let's move on to old business. That would be you, Tim.
That's for old business?
Your old business.
Okay, I feel like I am too. I'm Dave Caldwell with the Fayette County Soil and Water Conservation Board, and I can't believe how timely it is for us to show up here today with what we just learned, but glad Brad's on top of it. We were here last month and talking to you about a project in John Connor and dealing with invasive plants. Andrea Napier is our office manager, and Liz Yetter, who is a invasive plant expert, was here then. She can't make it tonight, but we've got Andrea, so we don't really need Liz. Andrea's put together some numbers that that we might deal with, but first on what we're just reminding you what we're talking about. Since the last meeting, Andrea and Liz and I went to the park and mapped out an area that we feel like we could devote to this project. It's 84 feet roughly by 225 feet.
Okay.
Along the road, when you first, well, I'll show you the map, if you can hardly see this, but here's the lake, the pond, here's the road coming in, and this would be right here.
Oh,
Okay, can you see?
so you
hard
decided
to
against
see.
the trail?
Pardon?
You decided against the trail then? You'd rather work at Smalley's?
Oh, no, we'll talk about nickel plate also.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you were choosing between the
Well,
two.
I think we can do both.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot we can do with nickel plate, but there's something
Yeah.
I think would be good to do. But yeah, we'll get the nickel plate. But this is a much bigger project, really. And that's very visible to people coming in. It's a area that we would clear of invasives. It's right next to the road coming in and next to a trail that's inside the park, a walking trail inside, so be very visible. And we talked about getting your permission to put up a sign describing what's being done there and why it's being done. And we'd like to have 2 other signs in there, because one of the ways that we will clear the brush is by not clearing the brush. We'll chop it up, we'll cut it up into pieces suitable for piling up so that they create a habitat in that area. We'll have a couple piles of them, and we thought we'd put a sign near each pile to explain to people why we have this mess there. It's a good thing. So that's just another part of training, and I think it would be, if it's all right with you, we'd like to do that. We have price signs, and they're good quality so that they're not going to deteriorate, and they should be recoverable if somebody tries to do something funky to them.
Okay.
I know that can happen. But what we haven't done is look into whether, we don't know if you would want them to conform with the signage you're putting up now. Is there a style or something that that's okay? And I'm assuming that in the area we're talking about, Brad, we're talking about, right, here's the lake. I think you're talking about the area up here. So we can drive some posts down here.
Yep, no cap down there.
Okay. Okay, good.
Got that answered quickly.
Yeah, that was, I assumed that'd be all right. So that's what we're talking about doing. I'll get the money in a minute, but getting to nickel plate, we hiked that, Liz and Andrea hiked that, and as I think you mentioned at the last meeting, it's a pretty narrow area on each side. There's not much can be done.
Yeah, that
And we-
easement isn't much.
Yeah, and in fact, there's some invasive plants that we'd like to get rid of, but they actually are, some of the landowners next to it are using them for concealment. They don't know that's what they've got, but that's, if we took them out, then we'd be looking right at their back porch.
Yeah.
So we'll address that maybe in another way with them, but anyway, there's not much can be done right on the trail because it's so narrow and because of the landowners. But one thing we can do, there's, if you know what garlic mustard is, it's an invasive plant. And it's along there too, like it is everywhere. And if it's all right with you, we could put out a couple of barrels with bags in them and a sign on them asking people to, next spring, pull the mustard up, pull the garlic mustard, uproot it, and put it in the barrel. Because to get rid of it, you have to get rid of it. You can't just pull it, uproot it, and throw it back down. That's what it likes. And it'll
Okay.
reseed again. So
Wow.
we pull it out and take it away.
Is there any way you could inform the landowners along the route that what's in their backyard and
Well, yeah, we
how they might help? Because they want to protect their, I suppose, they want to protect the property.
yeah.
What kind of plants are they using?
Well,
I've noticed.
bush honeysuckle, I think there was some autumn olive, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there is autumn olive, but
Yeah.
majority of it is honeysuckle.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's, I mean, and it's large mountains of
Yeah.
honeysuckle, you know, to the point where it's large bushes.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it is also their privacy screening, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's what I
It is-
mean. Maybe you could
Along
figure out
trail,
some other
yeah.
way to mask it.
But it is on that perspective where it is on their property, you know, so we, you know, in order for us to do that, we do have to get the permission to treat or even spray.
Well, to get them to do it.
Yeah.
That would be.
well, one way we could, this is another project, but one way to approach that would be to help them get shrubbery that is not invasive. Help
Or
them get
or
that.
just
installed.
I would assume that most of these people don't I didn't know that I had some in my backyard, and what it was till you were here before, saying, oh, I should get rid of this, which I did.
Oh,
And
good for
maybe
you.
well, not well, but it's not there. But informationally, I wonder if we could a way we could let these homeowners know in some way that this is a plant, and if you have it in your backyard, we understand what we're using it for, but really it's not a good plant. And give them some information on how to get rid of it themselves, because I would think that the homeowners wouldn't want an invasive species in their yard, but like myself, I had no clue what it was till I found out. I thought it was pretty, and it is, but it's not a good plant to have in your yard.
Well, that might tie in with another thing you mentioned last time, and that was mentioned. That was the library was here talking about a kind of a storybook.
Uh-huh.
So that might be a good thing for us to add into that. And then the people along the road would see that. And well, that's a little bit of a side, that's another project, I think, to get with those people that are along the trail. Because once you get past the residential area, then it's more open and we can do more there.
What if we had a trail cleanup day? Like an event on the trail? And then you guys could come, and then it would be a day where we would pull garlic mustard.
Oh, that'd be great.
And, because I think if we get people out there on a certain day,
Well, that'd be a good time
you know what I
to inform
mean?
the
And then
neighbors,
you could
too.
talk about,
Yeah,
as you walk even, like,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
One issue where we struggle a little bit with the nickel plate was the fact of getting a little bit of equipment back there. So if we could work with the park and maybe using some of your, if you have like a gator or an ATV with a little trailer or something, that way if we did a cleanup and we could haul some of that stuff, and I think there's like an access trail from the road
Yeah.
on the far back there, and help getting, once we do cut some of that stuff down, and getting it out like that day, that would be amazing, because you want to
we
cut
could
it
just
and
bring
then
some
take out.
trucks up there and
Yeah,
fill the beds up and
Yeah.
haul it out.
but
Because we need more
yeah.
events up there anyway, and that would be a really good one.
Yeah, good. I'd suggest spring. That's when
Yeah.
the best time to get the garlic mustard is, so we can do it.
And in all truthfulness, we were really surprised because there was a lot of native plants
Oh, yeah.
along the trail that, I'm still learning, especially when it comes to the plant identification. And when Liz and Dave walked it, because neither of them had been all the way down to the very end, I mean, Liz was pointing out more native plants than she was invasive plants.
Well, that's good.
So it was really cool to see that. So what I would like to do come springtime and stuff especially is work on putting some kind of small scale signage out, like, hey, this is a native plant, like, like this is supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Help this grow. If you see some other plant like taking it over, like pull the weeds around it. Help these plants thrive along the way. Kind of an idea. That's always good for education.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got a lot of things scheduled for next spring, but maybe we can work that in. That'd be good.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And maybe the library could be involved if that fits what they're interested. I don't know if that would or not. We'd be happy to work with them. You know anybody at the library, Vane?
A few.
Okay. One other thing that was mentioned last time was the possibility of the RMC coming in and doing some cleaning.
Yeah, I talked with them, and she said that they had already reached out to, I think one of their 4-H groups or something. And they were trying to figure out if they still wanted help. So I said we would circle back with you guys, and then I would call her back and see if they were still willing to come. But you were saying about leaving the brush. So do you want it like taken?
We would want.
What do you want? You want them to come cut it down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We want. Well, we've got another option for that too. But
Oh, okay.
Andrea's tracked down. But if they can help tie into that, that'd be wonderful. But,
Okay.
Andrea, as she probably should talk about this more than I, but she's come up with some costs, and as far, we have $7,500 allocated for the Fayette County Park, city parks. And so what would happen is for these things that we would assign a cost to, like the signs, the largest cost will be for a contractor to clean out. Andrew has located some people that are skilled at doing this. They have the training and they can handle the herbicides and the equipment and know what they're doing and know which plants to get. And so that would be the biggest part of the cost, is hiring them. But the way it would work is you would hire them and you would pay them and we would immediately write you a check for whatever you wrote, okay? So that's how it would work. We
Okay.
have to do it that way.
So that's in replace of doing it with the REMC then?
Well, I don't know that has to be in place of it. We'd be happy to have them come in and tear into it too. That would
Okay.
reduce the amount that the contractor would have to do.
Gotcha.
Or could you do that much more?
Yeah, could do more, sure.
Let's say that if REMC's gonna be there helping, you can direct them,
Yeah.
why couldn't we add that to this? Have them take out what you've got planned for this amount, and have REMC add more to that.
Sure.
I
That'd be
mean, the
good.
whole goal is to wipe out invasive species. The more area we cover, the better we do.
Yeah,
So,
no downside to that.
okay, if we can work that out, that would
We
be
would,
the best.
I don't know when they do this, I think it's in October when they have their community cooperative day.
Yeah, that's when she wanted to plan something, was October.
Yeah. So what we'd have to do is go in, if I was involved in one of those ones when I was on the cemetery board, and those guys, there's a bunch of them, and they just go crazy.
They do.
So, we would want to go in ahead of time and mark everything we wanted them to cut, and make sure they didn't cut stuff we don't want them to cut.
Yeah, because we do have a mitigation area back there too. There is the mitigation area back there too with the trees. that-
Mitigation?
Yeah, when, well, that was when Jess was still here. They had to go back there and plant new trees.
Oh,
And then I guess one of our mowers didn't realize that they were trees and mowed them all down.
That was,
And then I started,
Yeah.
and now we call it the mitigation area.
yeah. Okay, that happened, yeah, right before you,
Yeah, but I can mark that on
Yeah, let's
your
talk about
map
that.
too, to make sure we don't.
don't do that again.
There's signs back there though too that say do not mow, so,
okay.
yes.
Well,
Now
anyway,
there are.
we'd need time ahead of that
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
to map out what they should do and what they should not do.
Yeah, we wanted to just steer clear of that area, but
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
Okay. But the signage, Andrew has rounded up good numbers for that signage, like I say, good quality, almost $1,000 for the 3 signs. They have good quality signs put in the ground, more than 2 feet, so they're good and solid, so they'd be there. Estimated cost of chemicals, don't need that many chemicals, but right now 250 is what we're estimating.
And that's chemicals that will last us for this fall, spring, and then into the fall of next year
Really?
also for
Okay.
treatment. Because usually once you cut something down,
Yeah.
it'll re-sprout a little bit in the spring and to the fall. So that should be enough treatment to really kill what you're cutting down starting this year. But, it should be a long-term treatment.
Yeah, this is not a one-year project, it's at least 3 years.
Okay.
Because you go in and kill the big stuff. It all wants to live, so we gotta re-kill it next spring, but it's much easier. And then the following year, you gotta come back. And then there'll be garlic mustard forever, but this 3 years of really focusing will really get it done.
I know this is a footnote sort of thing. I read an article, and I can't remember where, about Roundup, the danger of they used Roundup, I don't know, with other chemicals too, but to endanger butterflies and other insect propagation. And that people who use it should be cautious about how it's used, where it's used, because apparently there's been a population reduction in places where they've measured, the monarchs and other butterflies have just not gone away, but the population's gone down quite a bit where they've used it. And I'm sorry, I should be able to cite it, but I can't remember.
Well, there's a lot of people go off-label, they don't use it properly, and that's one reason for having a contractor or someone experienced at using the chemicals correctly. With the way that we would use glyphosate, which is Roundup, or any of the others, is probably the least invasive any. It would be to treat the stump. We just dab it on the stump. We're not spraying it in the air or anything like that. So
Fire
it's
trucks.
pretty minimal extension of that chemical. But yeah, it'd be nice to not have any chemicals, but if we don't do it, I guarantee you we'll not get rid of this stuff. And the bush honeysuckle is not a habitat for monarch butterflies either. So, then the contractor estimated about $5,500. And this is hard work and a lot of it. So we would have that, we'd be able to budget that and have them go till it's run out. And that would leave a little bit over in the grant for some further education, maybe the nickel plate and some other things like that.
And when we say contractor, we're looking, we've actually, we've talked to several people now, but we're talking licensed contractors that have Purdue University bachelor's degree in forestry that have been doing these types of removal for 25, 30 years. That there's one from Henry County, there's one from Liston, Indiana, that actually have worked with city and county parks, and they specialize in like taking what's cut down and mulching it down to relay trails and things like that, and actually designing parks as they're cutting down the masses. So they're not just cutting down the invasives, but they're also kind of recreating the forested area a little bit. That's improving for wildlife, but it also creates more of a visual, attractive eye to the forested area. So it's, you know, it's hopefully enticing people to walk into the woods too, not just clearing out the invasives. So it's more professional than, you know, the professional touch added in with the scientific background on top of it. So hopefully it makes it more appealing. And then we found some really good grants that will go active at the beginning of September from the Indiana Native Plant Society. That is specifically for places like John Connor, that once we do go in and pull out the invasives, for the idea of coming back in maybe next year with native plants to kind of rebuild it back up with native plants and make it like a pollinator wildlife little habitat, and creating more wildlife into the area. So that would, if we have your approval to maybe apply for that grant, we would like to really do that.
I think that's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
Yes.
It makes it more sustaining.
Yeah.
So do you need a motion on something like that now to get started?
I would love to do that, yeah. It starts September 1st, I
I
can
don't
apply.
know that we
So
need a motion for that, do we? Can't we just?
I guess I just need
So,
approval
it's okay
maybe.
with
Yeah, yeah.
Just a nod.
Yeah, maybe.
Anything
I mean, I have
else
to work with the
is
parks
legal.
yeah, to do
Okay,
it.
so you want to?
Anything
I'll
to
take the
beat
motion.
Okay, I got
that.
a motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of moving forward with non-invasive plant propagation, I'll say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good.
Like the grant.
We did it, right?
Like the
Well,
grant.
we really appreciate you taking an interest in our parks.
We appreciate the parks.
Yeah, we'll try to keep them moving.
Just one other little quick thing. The city opened, you go at the end of Nickel Plate, all the way so that you're looking to your left, you're looking at Walmart. There's a woods there. The city owns that too. Is that part of the park?
Do we own those woods?
It's probably part of the airport ground, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The airport ground
Yeah.
Oh, no.
that they own around the airport. They owned all of the crops right there, because you can't, I think because of the airport, they have to own
Right.
that land
Oh, I
around the
see.
airport, so it's
But it's
probably
the
part of that.
city's
Yeah.
property, right? Okay. Well, pretty
It's
neat
not
little
park
trail.
property, I
It's
know
not
that.
park property, but
Yeah.
yeah, they lease that
Pretty
ground
neat little
to,
trail into that.
Well, is there something you want to do there? Because
I'd just like to walk around it. It's
oh,
about 10
okay, I was
acres.
gonna say, because they do have an airport board.
Oh,
and-
okay, that would be, who would be?
That would be,
Mhm.
Who would be
Yeah.
over
who
that?
would control that, yes.
Okay. I was just,
I bet you they don't even.
I think
know.
it's just the mayor's office.
Liz and Andrew stayed there and worked
The
on the
airport,
trail.
well,
I just
it's a-
took off in that
Airport
area.
Find out what was there.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
I think,
Thank you, guys.
it says City of Connorsville.
so does it?
Good job.
Maybe
Thank you.
it's under
Thank
the
you.
auspices of the airport board since it's on.
All right, so that covers our old business. Miscellaneous business, just says here that you're not gonna be here at September's park board meeting.
No, but you guys can go ahead and meet.
Well, thanks.
I will also not be here, but I can have a park board packet prepared for the most part.
Okay,
The person who is taking over for me while I'm gone, I can inform her on what to add once I'm out of the office. So I can still have those prepared for the
Okay.
next meeting.
Just
very
tell
good.
the baby not to show up on it.
I'm being induced on the 6th, so I have a timeline.
okay. All right, we'll move on to claims. I need a motion to accept claims, including payroll.
I move we accept claims
Okay, I got a
as indicated.
first, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a first and a second. All those in favor of accepting claims, including payroll, say aye. All those opposed? All right, claims is passed. All right, public
You-
forum.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Do you want to talk about the October meeting? I know Amy and Carrie mentioned they won't be here. So the other 4 of you would have to be here for us to have
What is
quorum.
the date?
It's fall break. It's the Monday of fall break.
24th.
That's,
It's, you're talking September or October?
no, October.
October.
Yeah, that we could.
That could get really,
24th.
that could get really sticky for me too.
What about
So
our
we need to-
virtual options? Can you guys attend virtually? The only problem with moving it up, if you move a meeting up sooner, then claims have to be done sooner.
Yeah.
Reports have to, so she can do reports sooner, so, which we can do, we just need, we need to prepare to know that we're not gonna have a quorum.
That's
Yeah.
true. What can
The
we-
last,
31st.
or the 31st, yeah,
Isn't
the
it?
31st, because it's 24,
So,
yeah.
it'd be 31st,
It
yeah.
would be the 31st. The last Monday in October is October 31st. Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
meet on the 4th Monday of the month.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
She's
but since
talking-
it's
they're
gonna be
talking
fall
about
break,
moving
if we
it.
were to like reschedule to make it, bump it out instead of make it
Yeah, moving
earlier.
it to the 31st.
But then
That's
that's,
Halloween.
Yeah.
Well,
for those of us
You
who
guys.
don't know. Celebrate.
it's a meeting to 7 o'clock, because trick or treat's between 5 and 7, so. But fall break,
It's up to you guys.
Say, I don't have a problem. I'm not going anywhere. So,
Will you be here, Vane?
Yes.
Harold, will you be here in October?
Let's see. I think so.
Yeah.
Or maybe trick or treating, I don't know.
So it just come down to Ann.
well, that's fine. I'm gonna go try to go visit my son in Florida.
Okay.
And we have not set a specific time. I don't know whether his kids have the same fall break as our kids or not.
And we can put you on the TV too. I mean,
That's scary. Yeah, if I were in Florida, I could be on the TV, actually. Not
Yeah.
in Connorsville, Indiana, but I could be, because that's how I communicate with my grandkids, but no. And that's,
well, you guys can decide now or decide
yeah,
next
well, and like I
month.
said, he and I have just been talking about it, but, so there's nothing set in stone. So I may very well be here in beautiful Connorsville, so.
all right, well, let us know so that we can
Yeah, I'll let you
Well,
know.
find
I
out by
mean,
next
she-
meeting.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
She pulls reports. Well, we have to have the reports by Thursdays. So, I mean, if you want to meet the Friday before fall break, we could do that without changing any dates around as far as when stuff is due.
Friday before fall break is when?
Like what, like
I
a
don't
week time?
remember the
The
date.
21st, yeah.
21st?
I think that's senior night at the high school,
I was gonna say, I can't do that.
if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe for fall break.
Okay.
That's the last home football
Okay.
But
game.
Carrie
rest of
said,
them.
yeah, you would have an alternative with Carrie and Ann both, so you would have a quorum.
Well, the fourth Monday is the 24th, not
Right.
the 31st.
Yeah, but that's fall
But
break.
it's fall break.
I see.
They're all
Yeah.
going on vacation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where,
Well, you
Okay.
you guys can
We're
figure it
gonna have
out
to
next
figure it
month
out.
or something.
Yes, make sure, look at your
We got it
calendars
in
and we can work
Pass,
it.
we gotta pay our bills and payrolls.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
You gotta get paid.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so make a plan for it for next meeting to make sure we finalize that, okay? All right. Public forum.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Brandon Townsend and I'm a filmmaker. I'm here because I'm looking for permission to film part of the movie that I'm working on at the racetrack out at Roberts Park.
Okay.
I've talked to Kate a little bit about that. You and I have spoken over email about it.
Yes,
I-
it was on the agenda a couple months ago.
Okay.
And there was some correspondence that I had put in the packets of our communication. We have also talked to the mayor's office, and they suggested he come to our meeting and speak about it here.
And what kind of things are you filming?
We would only need it for one day. It would be like 5 people out there on the track, just
Okay.
there for about 6 hours, and we'd be gone before you even knew we were there. So nothing too crazy, just
You need
pretty
a
simple.
track.
I need a track, yeah.
What are you
I need
doing?
a track.
On the
No
track.
vehicles, right?
No vehicles, yeah.
Just
No
people?
vehicles.
Buggies,
No, just people.
trotters.
Just people and cameras.
People
So,
on cameras?
yeah.
Okay.
Um, I would suggest that Mr. Townsend just rents the track for that day. I mean, otherwise, we can't guarantee that
Right.
you can't kick other people out that
Okay.
you don't want in your movie if you,
Okay.
you know, don't have a facility
Okay.
rented. So.
Do I rent that through you
Through Kate.
or? Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay. How much would that be?
Is it 300 for the? I don't know. We just changed the rates, and I don't have.
It's about that.
Yeah,
If
that
you want to just call tomorrow, I
Okay.
can give you
Yeah.
exact numbers.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That way you
Alright.
get your guarantee of your time.
Yeah, yeah, for
Because if
sure.
you show
yeah,
up
yeah.
and you don't have permission or to have the rental fee
Right.
paid, then somebody else can come in and say, hey, we've got it for the
And
day.
that way
We
we
don't.
can
Absolutely.
let the folks in the horse barns know that you
Yeah.
have it rented for the day and.
They'll
Okay.
leave you alone that way.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay? All
Alrighty, yep.
right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All righty. Looks like that's about it. I just need a motion.
Move we adjourn.
I have a motion
I'll
to
second
adjourn. I got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Okay, very good.